Good evening and welcome. You're watching the newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. Political fireworks in India over funding by USAID. All kinds of claims doing the rounds. On the newstrack tonight, we will try and get to the nub of the matter and more importantly, ask the question, should India be pushing back harder against some of what Donald Trump is trying to do? That's my top focus on the newstrack tonight.
The $21 million question.
21 million for voter turnout in India. What about us? I want voter turnout too, Governor.
USAID and a bet, poll interference. Trump doubles down on charge. Political war of words explodes. BJP points finger at Rahul and Congress. Congress demands fund probe. India getting caught in US politics. That is our top focus on the news track.
It's the $21 million question. The American president's USAID funding charge for voter turnout in India has triggered a massive political controversy. The BJP is pointing at the so-called foreign hand. The Congress says the probe must encompass the entire trail. In this war of words, the real facts about the $21 million remain unclear. Are Trump's charges credible, or is India getting caught up in the trap of Trump's domestic politics?
The war of words over US aid funding rages on. Days after US President Donald Trump claimed $21 million were given to aid India's voter turnout.
$21 million going to my friend, Prime Minister Modi in India, for voter turnout.
The Finance Ministry released a report on the US aid funding in India so far. The report claims USAID funded 7 projects amounting to $750 million in 2023-24 with a $97 million obligation for the projects in financial year 2024. The Finance Ministry report says the funds were not used for voter turnout, but rather for agriculture, water, food security schemes, among other welfare programs. USAID has so far provided $17 billion as aid to India in over 555 projects since its formation. The Congress claims they stand vindicated with the Finance Ministry report, accusing the Prime Minister and his ministers of lying.
Every day the BJP says a different thing. They keep changing the goalposts. It is very clear that the BJP are relying upon falsehoods and propaganda.
Trump says 21 million to India. Entire BJP, entire RSS, and half of media starts dancing to his tunes. Trump says, Washington Post says, no, it didn't come to India. Stunned silence. Indian Express says, no, it went to Bangladesh. Stunned silence. Then Trump says, I gave it to my friend. US gave it to my friend Narendra Modi. Stunned silence.
The BJP denied the charge, claiming the Congress is not only defending USAID's funds, but they were routed through George Soros-linked fronts. External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar called the charges made by Trump concerning and says facts will soon come out.
USAID was allowed here in good faith to do good faith activities. Now suggestions are being made out of America that there are activities which are in bad faith. So it surely warrants a look. And if there is something to it, I think the country should know who are the people involved in the bad faith activities.
This fierce showdown comes after Trump made several statements accusing USAID of giving funds to enhance India's voter turnout and that it was used as a kickback scheme.
And $21 million for voter turnout in India. Why are we caring about India turnout? We got enough problems. We want our own turnout, don't we? Can you imagine all that money going to India? I wonder what they think when they get it. Now, it's a kickback scheme. You know, it's not like they get it and they spend. They kick it back to the people that send it, I would say, in many cases, many of these cases.
Meanwhile, heads roll at the USAID as Trump is on a warpath, sacking over 2,000 workers. Bureau Report, India Today.
As the political slugfest over USAID's funding intensifies in India, the spotlight is on the US agency's former India chief Veena Reddy. Lawyer and BJP leader Mahesh Jethmalani has called for an investigation into her role, as USAID's funding jumped during Reddy's tenure from 2021 to 2024.
Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Wow.
US President Donald Trump hinting at USAID interference in India's election has put the spotlight on Veena Reddy, the former India director for the UN agency. An Andhra Pradesh-born American diplomat, she joined USAID's India office on August 5th, 2021. She announced her return to the US on July 17, 2024, more than a month after the results for the Lok Sabha elections were announced. Before joining the US government as a foreign services officer, Reddy was a corporate attorney in New York, London, and Los Angeles. She has also been a member of bar councils of New York and California, and has also served in USAID missions in Pakistan, the Central Asian republics, and Central America. With Trump's bombshell revelation, BJP leader and top lawyer Mahesh Jethmalani demanded an investigation into USAID funding and Veena Reddy's role.
Well, India should certainly make a request for further details. Whether there are only three questions which remain. An allocation was made, right, which President Trump, in his words, says were meant to bring about a change in government, and we should tell the Indian government. Who are the people who made the allegation on behalf of USAID in India, right? And three, who are the people who received the allocated funds? We will know when this investigation takes place or where further information is communicated by the Trump administration to the Modi government.
Net funds disbursements for Indian projects by USAID rose significantly during Reddy's stint, jumping multifold to over $228 million or rupees 1,982 crores in 2022, the highest since 2001. According to the US State Department, during her nearly 3 years of tenure as the mission director, Veena Reddy oversaw various projects in fields of health, economic development, education, social services, democracy, human rights, and governance. India Railways, Ministry of Power, Niti Aayog, National Power Training Institute, and Power Sector Skill Council, NTPC, Green National Skills Development Corporation, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Atal Innovation Mission are among prominent government bodies that either signed fresh agreements or implemented USAID-funded programs during Reddy's stint in New Delhi. Will the USAID funds and Veena Reddy's role be probed now? With Shubham Tiwari in New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
You know, we actually went through the budget papers for USAID. They have a fiscal year that runs from October to September. I'll put out the data for where the money has been channeled by USAID into India. So a total of $2.9 billion being spent. Out of this, $1.6 billion, which is 56% on health and population. Commodity assistance was $402 million, which is 14%. Administrative costs were $218 million, which is 7.6%. Governance was $121 million, 4.2%. And then there were some smaller heads. But I want to dive deep into governance and take a look at what it's saying about governance. Now, of the 121 million that's been spent, let's take a look at how this has been divided. This is, remember, not for 1 year, but from 2001 to 2024. And all of this is from the website foreignassistance.gov. Now, we break down the amount of money spent on elections. This is for a body called the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, CEPPS. Now, here $484,000 have been spent between 2013 to 2018. This is far from the 21 million or $18 million figure that Doge and Donald Trump have been speaking about. Now, 14 million was spent to democratic participation and civil society. This is in the year 2013, before the first election when Prime Minister Modi came to power, and then between 2020 and 2024, $14.1 million was spent. Nowhere does it have the figure 21 million. If you break down this 14 million and actually look at, and because think of this like a union budget. If you say, okay, we're spending 1 lakh crore rupees on Manrega, if you go to the budget papers, you'll find where that money is spent. So if you actually look at where this $14 million has been spent, which is supposed to have been spent on democratic participation and civil society, 7.6 million went to National Democratic, RTI International got 2.3 million, Enterprise US Redacted got 1.9 million, others got 1 million, Enterprise others got 1 million, and that's how this money was spent. So nowhere is there a mention of $21 million spent on voter turnout. Now, what that first tweet, and I went back to that first tweet, this is by Doge. The first tweet put out actually says that money has been allocated which will be spent on. So it's not as if even the original charge says that the money has been spent. So this is on the 16th of February. That tweet coming up on your screen right now, 10 million for Mozambique, voluntary medical male circumcision goes on, UC Berkeley, establishment of a Cambodian youth and enterprise-driven skill cohort, etc., etc. I'll come to the operative part. 486 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, 22 million for inclusive and participatory process in Moldova, and 21 million for voter turnout in India. And then it goes on to say $29 million spent on political landscape in Bangladesh, 20 million on Nepal, blah, 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 and it goes on. The point I'm making is, and given the kind of political fireworks we're seeing in India between the BJP and the Congress, there is no one place where in the USAID financial budget it says this is where the $21 million was spent. So is there just a lot of hot air? What's really going on? Are we getting trapped in American politics? To talk about this, I'm joined on this broadcast by 4 special guests. I want to start introducing, first and foremost, Pradeep Bhandari, national spokesperson for the BJP. To give us a Congress-leaning perspective, I have Sanjay Jha, I have Colonel Ajay Shukla, well-known strategic affairs expert, and I have Anand Ranganathan. Now, we're seeing that in the United States, Donald Trump wants to score political brownie points against his political opponents. But Pradeep Bhandari, are we getting caught in that trap? Because the charge, and the BJP ran with that charge, is that $21 million was spent in boosting voter turnout in India. Now this, even if it is true, goes back to 2001, 2013, 2020, 2024. There is no specific, if you actually dive into the budget papers and start reading, bhai, kahan paisa kharch kiya, kisko diya, there is no mention of this. So then why is the BJP reacting in the way you're alleging that this happened for the Congress? This is American politics. Are we getting trapped in domestic American politics?
Well, Rahul, the statement of the United States of America's President Donald Trump is, I believe, the official stand of the US government. And Donald Trump, the US President, not a private individual, said that $21 million was proposed to go to India, and that was specifically for electoral and political purpose, and they wanted somebody else elected. Now, we as a responsible government do take the statement of any other head of state on face value, and it was also corroborated by the DOJ, which is again a US government arm, which said that...
No, but once he said 21 million, next time he said 18 million, so the figure also keeps changing, Pradeep Bhandari.
Allow me. Yes, that is one part, but allow me. See, there are two types of funding. Nobody is questioning the government-to-government funding. The premise here is that USAID also directly operates through a lot of large NGO networks, and the specific NGO network which is in charge is what you had mentioned is CEPPS, which was also in partnership with IFES, and where the larger charge in the allegation is that it was involved in the garb of voter turnout in order to create a democratic deficit in the country. Now, what we are here saying is that as the American government provides us with evidences, we have seen a pattern to the leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi's statement, where he has asked multiple individuals, whether it is Nicholas Byrne, whether he was in London, of a democratic interference. We've also seen how...
No, so now you're linking American politics with domestic Indian politics. Listen, one second. First, the budget also of the organization to which the money was given is also made publicly available. That again doesn't mention any $21 million amount. Secondly, you are accusing him of helping the Congress. There is no evidence. If voter turnout was increased, it happened in 2013, and he says they tried to change the government. Maybe they tried to help the BJP. We don't know whether they tried to help the Congress or the BJP. Why are you assuming that they were trying to help the Congress?
Well, no, I am not assuming that. The pattern of the funding of this to the NGOs, if you see and study the pattern in the ownership, you will find that majority of them are linked to the Congress party. For example, even the which you were speaking about, CEPPS, the larger group of substantial funding also comes from George Soros' organization. We've seen that. So there is not a single organization or the NGO network which is directly or indirectly related to the Bharatiya Janata Party. Point number two, there are large NGO networks which may not have been seen in prima facie track of the budget, because if you go to governmentinfo.gov, which tracks the funding of USAID to NGO network, it mentions, and I want to quote one thing, the USAID uses various type of contracts, grants and other operative agreements to provide assistance through NGOs. Now, if you recall and remember that 20,000 NGO licenses,
you're right, but where that money was provided is also now available through their budget papers, Pradeep Bhandari. That's the point I'm making. That now, the best argument that I can decipher
two things
from what Pradeep Bhandari is saying, I'm coming back to you, Pradeep, in a moment, and I want Sanjay Jha to respond to it, that just because it's not mentioned in the budget allocation heads doesn't mean this did not happen. See, you looking at the fine print, you're saying, dikhao paisa ka hai, but the fact is, Donald Trump, Sanjay Jha, has not once, not twice, but repeatedly said that $21 million were given, they were trying to change the government, or $18 million. So if Donald Trump is saying it, why should we not believe it? I mean, he's President of the United States, and his word carries weight and value. You're on mute, Sanjay.
Rahul, upfront. Number one, this will go down as a classic political boomerang of our times. And I'm very happy that you have put through the facts on your screen in a very dispassionate, neutral way, because I think your viewers need to be respected beyond the political rhetoric. I think the BJP jumped the gun. You see, their obsession to paint the opposition and the Congress as fifth columnists has really got the better of them, especially when Donald Trump, and you are again right, Donald Trump and Elon Musk are being hugely inconsistent. In fact, they are both now being accused of spreading fake news and conspiracy theories themselves. Now, here is the point. That when Donald Trump said that $21 million is going to my friend Narendra Modi, ever since that the BJP has gone on a back foot. But you know, Rahul, what has surprised me is this, that the Ministry of External Affairs has given this a lot of gravitas by saying we are deeply concerned and we are going to investigate it. In which case, I have a simple solution for the government bureaucrats who are watching your program. If, Rahul, as you again rightly pointed out, we don't even know whether this is an allocation that has been disbursed, whether this is a theoretical exercise or it has actually entered bank accounts. If it has entered bank accounts, as Mr. Bhandari and the BJP seem to be alleging, I tweeted the other day, it will take 1 hour. I'm a foreign ex-banker, by the way, and I can tell you a government-to-government financial transfer has to be electronic, has to have a money trail, and it will be very easy to decipher which agency in India got the account. Did that agency then fund NGOs who then funded X political party? It will take them an hour or two to kind of make a public disclosure. So clearly this government is on the back foot. And I tell you my simple submission that the BJP should actually just take back this ridiculous accusation because they will have egg on their face. The truth is, in the last 4 years, I've seen the data, USAID has given $650 million to India. And if this government believes that it has been funding anti-nationals, why are you taking money from
so
the
I'm coming to that point in just a moment. Let's just try and first with Anand Ranganathan get his take on the mystery of the $21 million. Do you think the BJP leadership jumped the gun by presenting as if this money went to help the Congress? Now even Donald Trump seems to be changing his tune, saying the money went to my friend Modi. From 21 million has become 18 million. Read the budget papers. There's no mention of who got this 21 million. I mean, there's money spent in Nepal and Bangladesh for sure, but on voter turnout in India, there seems to be no allocation and no head.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I don't think it's just a question of missing jump the gun. I would say, to use another proverb, we're missing the woods for the trees. And the reason why I say this is not only the fact that in the last 4 years, the USAID has given $650 million to India, mostly to NGOs, but when the BJP is accusing the NGOs of perpetrating electoral, trying to influence elections and all that, then why has it been silent on investigating those NGOs? Be that as it may, as I said, we are missing the woods for the trees, and please permit me a couple of minutes. I think it's very important. Look, Rahul, the issue is not that USAID was funding Americans to seed or expand American interests around the world. Powerful countries spend unreal amounts of money and resources to establish assets and to enhance their sphere of influence, especially in developing world and untapped markets. What USA was doing is done by China, Germany, France, UK, even Russia, and I dare say India. USAID was a carefully thought out arm of US foreign policy and the CIA. They were buying influence and establishing assets, preparing grounds for enhancing business interests, helping out the military-industrial complex. Indeed, those Americans like Elon Musk who want this disbanded, perhaps for good reasons, might not even be aware that under the garb of absurd or fictitious labels or budgetary headings, US government was helping out thousands of US businesses, pharma, auto, aviation, mining, GMO, perhaps even Tesla. Secondly, lobbying by Indians for American interests is well known, as the COVID Pfizer vaccine push showed us. Foreign governments, their diplomats entice Indians across diverse fields, especially struggling YouTubers or screechy radio jockeys, to take up issues that aid foreign interests, sometimes even quasi-revolutions. So the issue is not that USAID was funding Americans to seed or expand American interests. The issue is not even that USAID was funding Indians to expand Indian or American interests. The issue is that USAID was funding Indians to undermine Indian interests. And that is an issue that should be investigated for any illegality that may have transpired. Now to the other important point of foreign interference in Indian elections. To be honest, Rahul, there is a thin line between genuine concern and scaremongering, being the victim and playing it. Everyone's a hypocrite here. The biggest interference in election happens through media. Billions of dollars are handed out to the Indian media by Indian and foreign companies in the form of ads, also pushed by Indian and foreign governments. Like in the case of China, that directly funds multiple Indian media outlets. The fact of the matter is, have the forgotten NewsClick shamelessly following Beijing's orders on Arunachal, COVID, Galwan, misinformation, disinformation, peddling fake narratives, trick the Indian voters, doubtless, interfere in Indian elections. But then you can never stop it, Rahul, because every single politician and every single political party takes money and then spends it to do this. Now, 30 seconds. Rahul, a simple question. If an organization gives money to a political party, does it expect some leverage in return? The answer is, of course, yes. Rahul, the biggest election interference in Indian history was perpetrated by this government itself, with full support and partaking of the opposition. I'm talking of the anonymous electoral bonds and the amendment to the FCRA Act that allowed foreign companies to give tens of billions to Indian political parties anonymously. This was the biggest betrayal of the Indian voter, and no party has returned the money to these companies. And it was not a foreign hand that did it, Rahul. It was an Indian hand. And it is way more dangerous as it was done in secret. Unlike a spurious paid for news report or ad that you can read and rebut, the government wants transparency on who got USAID money, but wanted to keep opaque as to who gave political parties money through electoral bonds. 10 seconds. If a foreign mining company gave billions to Congress, BJP would be up in arms. but a foreign company did give billions to Congress, and yet the BJP was silent. You know why, Rahul? Because the same mining company also gave billions to the BJP. And both BJP and Congress joined hands in amending the FCRA Act to escape conviction. Now I ask you simply yes or no. Is that not interference in Indian elections?
Sure. I want to go across to Ajay Shukla and get him to respond to some of this, and I want to show you this graphic which goes back to 2001. And if you look at, and if you see the way some BJP spokespeople have been attacking USAID, it would make it seem as if this is a very dodgy, slippery organization. But then I ask the question, why has the BJP government over the last 10 years been taking money from USAID? I'll show you there are several G2G, government-to-government fundings that happen through USAID. So look at this chart on your screen right now. Going back to 2001, we look at both the NDA regime, we look at the UPA regime, then we look again at the NDA regime, and we go on to now, and at the bottom you see the American presidents. And what this shows, Ajay Shukla, clearly is that money has been coming in at all times, and arguably more money came in on the watch of the NDA than it came on the watch of the UPA. That's the data. It's on your screen right now. You can see what this data reveals. I'll just explain this to our viewers in a second so that you can understand what I'm saying. Basically, this is 2001. This is 2024. This is when Vajpayee's government loses, and this is when Vajpayee's government loses, and the UPA government comes in. So the allocations are high in the Vajpayee era. The allocations are high in lower in the UPA era, and then they go up in the NDA era again. So now, if this is really as surreptitious, as dodgy, as slippery an organization as the government would have us believe, then why, Ajay Shukla, has the government been taking money from USAID even while 10 years of BJP have been in power?
Rahul, I agree with a lot of what has already been spoken on this show. But the point that we must always bear in mind is, in India, one of the few things that we can actually hold up as a triumph of democracy and as something that other countries would do well to emulate is the integrity of the electoral process. And by that, I would even add the funding dimension to this electoral process. It's something that we need to be proud of. And when we have a discussion on this, it certainly should not fall down into tutu meme along party lines. What could the money have been spent on? It's impossible to believe that a sum that we're talking about here, $29 million, could have come in and be disbursed to whoever, and the government does not know about it. This is a government that keeps a careful watch on NGOs, on aid organizations, and so on. And like Mr. Ranganathan just spoke before me, he said that we have to keep an eye on this, and it cannot be done without the government. How has the government allowed this? So it's I would just say that we need to keep a sort of a careful eye. There's this classic saying about India and America, not so much India, but certainly America, that to be America's friend, to be America's enemy is dangerous, but to be America's friend is fatal. And this is a classic example of how, in a sort of funding mode, when countries should be looking out for each other's interest, President Trump just dismisses it as a toss-off comment. I would love to get to the bottom of this, but I don't think any of us.
No, but that's a good point that you make, and I want to put that question to Pradeep Bhandari. This is where India and Indians should come together as one against whoever's leveraging this charge and say, "Batao kisko diya, jisko diya, account dikhao, arrest the person against whom this is done." Instead, we are turning this into a BJP versus Congress issue, whereas there is no evidence to back the charge, financial trail and evidence to back the charge that's been put out in the public domain so far. Therefore, did you jump the gun, and is this now boomeranging on you?
Well, Rahul, allow me a rebuttal, please, because I was interrupted twice. Rahul, I believe it's not about BJP Congress, it is about national security. I am very, very sure that the United States of America's president has more facts on his table, is privy to more facts than none of the media outlets or which we are quoting. Point number 3, we all are aware about there is 2 types of funding. One is documented on paper and the other is non-documented on paper. So are you telling me that the president of United States of America is not aware of the NGO network through which USAID was funding a lot of illegitimate activities before 2024? What was said was in 2024 the plan was to fund $21 million in order for political interference, which was cancelled by Dodge. However, between 2014 and 2024, this very government has cancelled licenses of 20,000 NGOs because they A, violated the FCRA guideline, B, they were using the foreign fund for not the activities for which they were taking fund, but they were using that fund for illegitimate activities.
No, but can I pause you to say, look at the facts of this case. No, once again, let me pause you, Pradeep, let me pause you to say that the Doge's charge itself says that US taxpayers' dollars were going to be spent on the following items, all of which has been cancelled, which basically means that the people levelling the charge are saying that this money never came. You are alleging Congress took it, you are alleging there was a plot to overthrow Modi, the elections are well and over, the money is not come, that is part of the charge that's been levelled.
Please note, what we are saying is that the President of United States of America said that there was proposal for $21 million to be used for getting somebody else elected. And as a citizen of this country, people of this country need to know, what were the conversations? Who was that somebody else? What were the conversations between that entire network? Even if that money is cancelled. And are you telling me that if that is the precedent before 2024, lot of NGO activities was not traced? You remember when we cancelled the FCRA license, what was said that we were carving off freedom of expression? But now it has been proven that the NGO activities were used in the past, and now there was a proposal to fund $21 million which was cancelled. So what we are telling here is that what was that network? Was there a conversation between the leader of opposition? Do we still know the...
No, but how do you know he was talking to the leader of the opposition? There are BJP leaders, Pradeep Bhandari, who've been brand ambassadors. One second, Pradeep Bhandari. There are BJP leaders who've officially been brand ambassadors of USAID. You are making it seem as if there's a hotline between USAID and the Congress. BJP leaders have publicly been your brand ambassadors for USAID.
The charge here is not on US... Rahul, the charge here is not about USAID distributing the money. The charge here is that through the NGO network, the money was used for democratically getting somebody else elected.
The money never came.
The charge here is not about the money quantum. The
money never came.
The usage of the money.
The money never came.
And who is that somebody else?
Arey, sir, the money never came. The money got cancelled before it came.
The money never came because it... But... The money in 2024, let's imagine that what Dodge has said has not come, but you need to know that if there was a proposal to get somebody else elected, which is now being cancelled, what were the conversation on?
No, sure, that's an important point. Okay, so here's the nub of what Pradeep Bhandari is saying, which needs to be looked at carefully, and I want Sanjay Jha to respond to this, that there is documented and there is undocumented financial trail. If this, and Donald Trump has said this so often now, therefore, it is possible that as per some undocumented trail, through NGOs, money was given. Because Donald Trump did say that they wanted to get somebody else elected. He's saying, boss, the American president is saying it. It's not just the financial numbers and what you can see in the budget. Kuch to soch ke bol raha hoga na Trump.
Now let me answer the BJP right away. Number one, they have already backtracked by saying we are not sure if the money came in. Obviously, they are embarrassed after Narendra Modi was mentioned by Donald Trump as receiving $21 million, which means it went to the government. Rahul, I tell you how ridiculous this statement is. So Narendra Modi's government gets money to topple itself. I mean, how bizarre is that argument? Point number one.
No, but how do you know that the Modi government got the money? It could have also gone to NGOs. Sanjay Jha, it could have well gone to NGOs.
But Rahul, let me answer that. So here is the question. And I challenge, and I can tell you why the BJP has no answers. Because if their allegations had even a grain of truth, they would have come out with it by now, because it takes less than a few hours to put the facts out, because they all happen through banking channels. But now let me do the biggest expose.
I can't have two people speaking at the same time. Let Sanjay complete.
Bhandari, please do not interrupt. Let's have a civilized conversation. So Rahul, here is the big expose on the BJP. Number one, They are talking about $21 million to destabilize the Indian government. That is 160 crores. Now your viewers need to know the unconstitutional fraudulent electoral bond scheme, probably the biggest scam since 1947, introduced by the BJP, had around 8 to 10,000 crores in collections. Majority went to the BJP. But Rahul, you know the truth, that in an election of the Lok Sabha, the expenditure is around 55 to 60,000 crores. So the bigger scam in India is not this so-called 20 million. Of course, investigated. But India is running a parallel economy during the time of the election.
No, now that's a different debate, and we'll come to that. I want to go across to Professor Anand Ranganathan on the point that are we getting caught in the vortex of American politics, Professor Ranganathan, that Donald Trump is doing American politics, and instead of uniting and pushing back, saying, show us the evidence, who did you pay, and then acting against whoever got the money, we seem to be turning this into a government versus opposition and basically getting trapped. And he changes his mind. One day he says 21 million, one day he says 18 million, one day he says my friend Modi got it, one day he says they were trying to get rid of the Modi government. We don't even know what he's saying and which latest statement to believe.
Look, it's very simple. A hypocrite follows two rules. Number one, that he never believes that he'll get caught out for his hypocrisy. And number two, he keeps on mentioning other things that keep on making him dig into a hole more and more and more. And that is why even on this panel, I dare say, Rahul, you will not get the right answer. I talked about electoral interference and I asked a simple question. What is interfering in Indian elections? Is not a foreign company donating tens of billions of dollars anonymously to Indian political parties interference in Indian elections? Now you go around the panel, many people will say yes. I don't know what Pradeep would say because that would be implicating him. But even Sanjay would not say correct answer because Congress also obtained thousands of crores to anonymous electoral bonds. So he's mentioned BJP, but he hasn't mentioned Congress. That when he thought that anonymous electoral bonds were a corrupt system and a scam, why on earth did it accept 1,600 crores through the same mechanism and has not returned it to those foreign companies? So you could never get the right answer. The problem is that in this country, you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can fool all of the people all of the time.
Okay, Sanjay Jha, very quick rejoinder.
Yeah, Rahul, by the logic of Dr. Ranganathan, why just government agency? I will say FDI, because a lot of it comes from very dubious financial institutions. They're coming from oligarchs into India's foreign direct investment.
No, now this debate is going in all kinds of directions. One second. This debate, let's just focus on what's really going on. Pradeep Bhandari wants to make a quick interjection. Then I want to go across to Colonel Shukla. Very quickly, Pradeep.
Sanjay Jha lied on your show. This is the Business Standard report. He was speaking about electoral donation. The Congress party saw the maximum surge, that is 320% surge in the donation through electoral bonds in 2024, which was more than 150% more than the party. That is where I'm saying it is not to do with the government to government deal. It is about the NGO.
No, once again, that's not the point. See, basically what's happening in my view, and I want to put this question to Colonel Ajay Shukla, is that Donald Trump is playing American politics. This suits his domestic agenda. Do you think we're getting caught in that vortex of American politics? Instead of pushing back, we're seeing, the way that the BJP is referring to Donald Trump's statements, it's as if he's some very credible Moses kind of character that whatever he says, you must believe and follow him. I mean, the man is changing his mind. One day he's saying Trump, the money was used to overturn this government. One day he says the money was given to my friend Donald Trump. One day it's 21 million. One day it becomes 18 million. Why are we pretending that Donald Trump is telling us the truth? He's just playing his American politics. Ajay Shukla.
You are absolutely correct. I'm with you 100% on this. Donald Trump, first of all, I think when he made that initial statement, you saw it on television, it looked like he was taken by surprise. Perhaps somebody slipped him a chit just before he had to say it. And he said it, but without elaborating and without sort of making any sort of responsible charges. But the other point that Rahul is making is, are we getting caught up in the vortex of American politics? And the answer is absolutely yes. There is, I think, a political dimension that crept in as soon as Trump got re-elected. India was always at that stage going to have to face the possibility of sort of a change in the American policy in the Asia Pacific, a change in the American policy against China. And Trump has not made any bones about it. I mean, he's already had his one-hour conversation with Putin. So I think that, this sort of thing needs to be investigated very quickly. The BJP government is in the right position to do it. It only sort of remains to be seen whether it results in any investigation, results in something embarrassing for the BJP, in which case we will never hear anything further about it.
No, but Professor Ranganathan, here's the thing. Trump is batting for America. Make no mistake about it. And we seem to be pretending that he's our best friend. From the time he started pushing us on tariffs, he's giving India a torrid time. I think a spade needs to be called a spade. We can't pretend that he's our best friend. He's looking out for his interest in his time. We started looking out for our interest, not pretending that there's some great bonhomie and friendship going on, that he and I are batting on the same side.
But what are our interests, Rahul? Is it in Indian interests for Indian political parties to take hundreds of billions of dollars from foreign companies and thus being convicted by a high court? Is that in Indian interest? I ask you.
Absolutely not.
That's the question.
Pradeep Bhandari, respond to this. You know, in all the comments that we've seen from whether it's the MEA or from BJP spokespeople, we still seem to be putting on the charade that Trump is India's best friend. He's looking out for America's interests. You know, it's time that we've admitted publicly that he's pushing us in ways we don't want to be pushed, and we need to push back without pretending that he's taking care of our interests. He's taking care of his interests, Pradeep Bhandari.
Rahul, we are taking care of Indian interests, and in Indian national interest is to know that if the leader of opposition was in touch with illegal NGOs and was trying to democratically create a deficit in this country, which the Honorable Prime Minister also spoke about before the Lok Sabha elections, and every global opinion maker said that India came very well prepared and got what it wanted with the bilateral talks with United States of America's president. It's not about Donald Trump, it's about he holding the position of United States of America's president. And we do believe that we take any other head of state statement very seriously, and they will further
no, but you don't take every head of state seriously. No, sorry. If Justin Trudeau were to say something, you wouldn't take him seriously. Pradeep Bhandari, that's not factually correct. If Justin Trudeau, or the Prime Minister of Canada, were to say something, you wouldn't take him seriously. You don't say you take every statement of every head of state seriously. That's not true.
Justin Trudeau is not even taken. Are you telling me that you're comparing US President with Justin Trudeau?
No, I'm telling you to be more disbelieving of all heads of state. They are looking out for their interests. It's time we publicly started looking out for our interests without treating him as some kind of Moses. He's not Moses.
We got our interest. We got Tavarur Rana. We've got what we wanted.
Rahul, can I give a rejoinder?
Okay, I'm running out of time. So before I wrap up, Sanjay Jha wants to make a rejoinder.
Yeah, Rahul, you have raised such a relevant issue here. America is pursuing its own interest. The BJP, in its typical vulgar way, is trying to make it into a domestic political agenda. They should wake up. Donald Trump is going after Gautam Adani because he's going to use Adani as a negotiating instrument. Sir, you thought you'll get a waiver. You're not getting it, Mr. Bhandari. The US courts are asking questions of Mr. Adani, whose proximity to your party is known. Wake up. Smell the coffee before it's too late.
You wake up.
I don't want to argue with the gentleman.
Okay, I can't have this debate in this fashion. What's most important, Professor Ranganathan, outside of the point that you made about electoral funding, on the issue of how India needs to view Donald Trump and his politics, do you think we need to stop believing everything that he's saying as the gospel, start questioning, pushing back, and admitting he's looking out for America, we need to look out for India?
Yes, no doubt. But if you were to look at, let's say, a basket, pun not intended, of 50 countries that Donald Trump right now is treating, I think India is not being treated as badly as a lot of other 40 countries. So I would say that we are still not in that doghouse, if I may say so, Trump's doghouse. I mean, China is there before us, Canada is there before us, Europe is there before us. So the fact of the matter is, of course, we must look after our interests. But in other sense, America under Trump will be our friend.
No, sure. But look at who is in the doghouse. Europe, the closest ally, treaty ally, all of Europe is in the doghouse. And who's not in the doghouse? Vladimir Putin isn't in the doghouse, and he's supposed to be the sworn enemy of the United States. So what we're seeing is frankly quite surreal, and I think we need to be very cognizant of what's at play and stop believing everything that Trump is saying as the gospel. He's looking out for America's interests. It's time we publicly started pushing back and saying we stand and speak for India.
Absolutely.
You're a friend, yes,
exactly
but as
right, Rahul, exactly right.
As Ajay Shukla said, to be their enemy is one thing, to be their friend in the current circumstances is quite dangerous and fatal as well. So I want to thank my guests for joining us. You're watching the Newstrack. Last week, we exposed how dubious travel agents and immigration consultants are promising to send people to the United States illegally. Days after our expose, the Punjab government and the state police have cracked the whip. Raids have been conducted in the immigration hub of Jalandhar. There has been a police reshuffle. The Punjab government is promising even bigger action. Take a look at this report.
Unregistered agents promising immigration to the US via illegal donkey route.
देखो आज तुसी मेरे नाल गल करोगे कि मैं यूएसए भाजी बंदा भेजना इंडिया तो भेजना कितों भेजना मैं बाय एयर भेजूंगा भाजी बंदा बाय एयर ही जाऊगा ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੁੰਡਾ ਪੈਸੇ ਪੇਮੈਂਟ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਦੋ ਸਟੈਪ ਚ ਚੱਕਾਂਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਐਡਵਾਂਸ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਵਾਂਗੇ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਪੇਮੈਂਟਾਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਣ ਦੇ ਦੋ ਸਟੈਪ ਚ ਪੇਮੈਂਟ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਐਸਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੋ ਨਾ ਡੋਂਕੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ 25-30 ਲੱਖ ਰੁਪਏ ਵਾਲੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜੰਗਲਾਂ ਥਣੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਜੇ ਡੋਂਕੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਬਾय 에ਅਰ ਵਾਲਾ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਕੰਮ ਹੈਗਾ 50 ਲੱਖ ਰੁਪਏ ਦਾ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਤੋਂ
Others offering political asylum as a means to gain illegal entry.
हो जाएगा asylum?
हाँ जी asylum तो हो जाएगा।
कैसे होगा प्रोसेस क्या है?
वो सर वही टूरिस्ट वीजा ते जो विजिट कर ले एक बार उधर जाके जो ਆਪਾਂ स्टेटस चेंज करना ना वीजे ਦਾ ਮੰਨ ਲਓ ਟੂਰਿਸਟ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ ਆ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਡਿਟੀ ਤਾਂ ਥੋੜੀ ਹੋਣੀ ਐਂਟਰੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਉਧਰ ਅਸਾਈਲਮ ਅਪਲਾਈ करते हैं कि मैं वापस नहीं जाना इंडिया।
नहीं तो वो आप
नहीं वकील उधर ही सर हमारे आदमी है उधर।
हाँ मैं ये पूछ रहा था
वो है उधर करवा के देंगे।
India Today's special investigation Operation Donkey blew the lid of illegal agents in the immigration hub of Jalandhar, Punjab. Now the Punjab government has cracked the whip on illegal and unlicensed travel agents who lure people to travel through donkey route. In Jalandhar, police conducted raids on several travel agents. 8 to 10 cases have already been registered. The Deputy Commissioner of Jalandhar has also issued notices to 271 travel agents who have failed to renew their licenses. SDMs have been instructed to inspect the documents at travel agents and immigration consultants' offices. Travel agents have been instructed to maintain proper records in their offices and ensure they are not working with incomplete documents. Strict action will be taken against unauthorized travel agents. There has been a police reshuffle in the past 48 hours, with new personnel being assigned.
अभी तक हमने 17 केसेस दर्ज किए हैं अक्रॉस पंजाब इन डिपोटीज के या उनके परिवार वालों के बयान पे। काफी ट्रैवल एजेंट्स अपने घर छोड़ के भाग जाते हैं, तो हमने अभी तक 3 अरेस्ट किए हैं 3 केसेस में, और बाकी में अरेस्ट की कार्रवाई और लॉ कानून के हिसाब से जो भी कार्रवाई बनती है वो कार्रवाई चल रही है।
NRI Minister Kuldeep Dhaliwal has also promised action.
सर आपने बहुत सख्ती की हुई है, बिल्कुल सही जेड़ा कार्रवाई करांगे। जेड़ा भी बंदा सानू लिख के दिंदा कि एजेंट ने मेरे को पैसे ठगे आ, मैंने ठगी मारी, ਉਹਦੇ ਖਿਲਾਫ ਅਸੀਂ कार्रवाई।
Massive action within days of our special investigation. India Today is the channel of real impact. With Kamaljeet Singh Sandhu, Bureau Report, India Today.